Welcome. Welcome to the show. We are here to play Lufia and talk about the collapse of civilization. Hydrate. I already did it, buddy. Here, I'll do it once more just for you. I'll do it once more just for you. There we go. Okay, so first things first, let's get on the road with what we're doing in the game. We're near the end of the game, but I'm grinding out. I am grinding out, are they might helmets or might armors? I think might helmets. Yeah, because shields you get, we already grinded out the might armors, and might shields you get from the egg dragon. So we have to get at least 2 more might helmets for Boomer and Aguro. I don't think Lufia can wear might helmets. Oh shit, when did this happen? The strangest thing about Russia invading Ukraine is that it means Kurt was finally there. Oh, well, thanks very much, Fidoid. What's up? Welcome aboard. I stream here most nights. Okay, so to grind out might armors, or sorry, might helmets, you fight variants in this room. So we're on the Sigma grind set once again, fellas. The main reason I'm doing it is I want a pure 100% file in this game, because after I do this, I'm never going to play this game again. So I want to actually do it once and have it say that I've done it, you know? So that's the plan for tonight. Now then, I'm watching the time over there because I have. So yeah, the Smegma male grind set. So with that being said, that's what I'm doing right now. The plan was tonight that Naomi and I were going to continue with our Mass Effect 3 playthrough. Okay? And we're not. We're not continuing that tonight. The main reason that we're not continuing that tonight is not because anyone's sick. Nope. Everyone's just fine. Posture check. Okay. Just here. Everyone's just fine. But we realized, well, first of all, Dave actually is sick, but that's just Dave being Dave. Okay? We realized, I guess, okay, in terms of Dave, Dave's not even going to be playing a game today, so he's already out of the question. He is not feeling well, but that's regardless of what's going on. But Naomi and I were, dude, first one! Might helmet. I grinded for like over 2 hours last year and didn't get a single might helmet. Okay. Well, I guess that's one down. Okay, can Lufia actually equip them? She cannot. So we need one more then. We need one more for Boomer, and then we're done grinding. Immediately. Boom. First variant gives me a might helmet. Okay, so my plan. Dave's sick, but he wasn't going to be on the show tonight anyway. It was supposed to be Naomi and I continuing our Mass Effect 3 playthrough. But I realized that we're coming up to a very story-heavy component of Mass Effect 3. And tonight, there's a big political event happening in Canada that I'm going to have my eye on the other monitor. And I was like, I didn't want to have to ignore the chat and ignore the news while this major event goes down. So I said I should probably play a game that I can goof around a bit more in. And that game is Lufia. So, that's what we're doing. I am grinding out the might helmets. And on the side, we are going to be watching and talking about what's happening here in Canada. Yep, I've heard that, Avalon. Yeah. So with that being said, I guess regarding Dave, Actually, you know what? No, I'll let Dave tell you about any health problems he wants to tell you about next time he's on the show. I'll leave it up to him. But suffice it to say, he's pulling a Dave. Regarding the news, in 11 minutes, the Canadian Parliament votes on whether or not the use of the Emergency Act to clear out the truckers in Ottawa was legally justified. And this is actually a pretty big deal of a vote in Parliament. Because if Trudeau fails the vote, it's considered a confidence vote. And a confidence vote in Canada, or in the parliamentary system, the UK parliamentary system, if a government fails a confidence vote, that means that an election is triggered. So, if the Liberals fail this vote, there's a pretty good chance that we'll see a snap election. And we just had one. We just had one back in September. So that's kind of a big deal right now. It's a big if. It's actually a pretty unlikely if, in my opinion. Okay? So, here's the current makeup of Parliament, okay? There's 151 people who are voting against Trudeau in this, okay? And the two parties, they're the Conservatives and the Bloc. And the Bloc are the Quebec separatists, okay? They're the Quebec separatists. The Quebec nationalists. Both, even though they don't usually align, the Conservatives and the Quebecers, they're both unified against Trudeau in the use of emergency powers. For different reasons. And I'll get into the reasons a little bit later. But there's 151 confirmed votes. Now they need, did I get one? No, I did not, okay. They need 169. That's a great number, by the way. Nice. So they need 169 votes. And they have 151. Now here's the other players in Parliament, all right? There is one independent who knows where they vote. There's two members of the Green Party, and one of them has confirmed to be voting against Trudeau. One of them. Lib Blink. What the fuck's wrong with you, bad form Mike? Get the fuck out of here. So, they need 18 people to turn, and one Green Party person is already confirmed to be voting against Trudeau. That leaves one more Green and one independent. Now that leaves the Liberals and the NDP. Okay? Now, the reason that Trudeau currently has a minority government, which means that he needs the consent of at least one other party to maintain a coalition and stay in power, because you need at least half the seats in Parliament. And Trudeau doesn't have at least half the seats, but Trudeau does have, he does control the largest bloc. So he needs the consent of another bloc, and that other bloc was the NDP. The NDP are like the Communist Party, okay? They're not Canada's Communist Party, but they're descended, they have like socialist roots, and they basically act as like a further left-wing vote. Yes, the NDP has, the official party line for the NDP right now is that they don't like it, but they're gonna vote for Trudeau, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, because they're like, yeah, we're for the working class, but for political expediency, we're going to allow the government to continue to use emergency powers. Like, it's awful, all right? But now here's the thing, okay? Here's the other problem, okay? The NDP electorate, the people who generally vote for NDP in NDP ridings, like safe NDP ridings, right now, they're up in arms. They overwhelmingly want this emergency power shit to stop, because they know that if this gets normalized, this is going to be used against labor movements. This is going to be used against striking workers. This is going to be used against all sort of left-wing, like more left than Trudeau, left-wing movements. And they see the writing on the wall, and they don't want this to happen. So, you have these people who are, we'll say like nominally working class, who vote left. They generally vote NDP. And they're worried right now because they think their own party is going to betray them. They're going to normalize strike-breaking power from the government to be used against labor. But meanwhile, so right now, like over in Jagmeet Singh is the it's pronounced Jagmeet, but whatever. He's the leader of the NDP. His own voters are currently protesting in front of and defacing his local office as he's back in Ottawa, getting ready to vote on this stuff. So right now it's a huge shit show of like there are like backbench NDP people who are saying, I'm really being told by my constituents not to vote for this. But the party, like the mechanics of the party, the people who are high up in the party are telling me that I must vote for it. And so there's a lot of pressure on the NDP right now. I still think that they're still going to backstab their constituents because they're communists, of course they are. But either way, it's not looking good for anybody right now. Thanks for the sub, Butters. I appreciate it. So, let's see if I can really... And, okay, this vote apparently is going to happen in 5 minutes. So we'll know what happens. But that is the situation. Now, usually when it comes to votes of confidence, party machinery overrides things because the party can say, listen, if you don't vote the way that we want you to vote, we will primary you the next time there's an election and you will get fucked. So lots of people, like there's a lot of liberals who are saying, I don't want to vote for this because I don't agree with what Trudeau is doing. But if I don't vote for it, I'll lose my seat in the next election. And of course, they also don't want to give the election to the Conservatives, because at this point, the Conservatives right now are wildly popular. So if a vote was called now, they would probably lose. So they're just thinking I don't like this, but I have no choice. If I want to keep my job and I want to keep my political opponents out of power, I have to vote with this. So there's at least 2 Conservatives who have openly spoken in public to the media against Trudeau, but there are others who are privately saying things this is ridiculous. And the same thing's happening on the NDP side. Now the NDP is also caught between a rock and a hard place because the NDP is at historic unpopularity. They've been around for 50 years and they've never been more unliked than they are now. If they called an election right now, which would be the moral and right thing to do based on not only the will of the people, but the ideology of their own party, if they voted no confidence and called an election right now, they would destroy themselves. Their party would be gone because no one likes them anymore. The Conservatives are being quite strong, and they're standing up for what they believe is right. And so are the Bloc. And they're unified in their opposition to Trudeau, but it's not enough. So, it's for the NDP, from the NDP's point of view, they're just fucked. They're completely fucked. There is no good option for the NDP because they have to either betray their principles and tank their credibility and tank their popularity even more because their own voters are rebelling against them, or they have to call an election that they're not prepared for and lose seats. There's nothing that the NDP can do right now that is good. They're fucked either way. So I guess if they're saying, if we're fucked either way, we might as well be fucked with liberals in power than be fucked with conservatives in power. That seems to be their point of view. Trudeau is sitting on a house of cards because he has a minority government, which means that he needs to keep dealing with kingmakers like Jagmeet Singh. The Conservatives, even though they're united, they're also not in a good position either. because the Conservatives, they're currently in the middle of a leadership. Oh, Cassandra, thanks for the sub, and thanks for all the bits, blonde librarian. So the Conservatives are currently in the middle of a leadership election because after they lost the vote, the vote in September, they had to find a new leader, and the last leader really sucked. But the new guy who's like the head who's ahead in the leadership election, he actually seems pretty good. But right now they have an interim leader. If an election was called today, that means that probably in like 30-35 days there's going to be an election. The Conservatives have to finish their leadership election and then pivot toward the general election in the span of 1 month time. Like it's almost untenable for them to be able to do that. So, like if this crisis happened 3 months later, if the protest happened 3 months later, the trucker blockade happened 3 months later, the Conservatives, I think, would have enough support to basically win everything. But it's happening at a time of actual Conservative weakness right now. Yeah, so people are saying this is a great opportunity for the Conservatives to come in. It's actually not. The only reason Trudeau's extremely weak right now, but the only reason that he's even allowed to continue existing as Prime Minister is that everyone else is also extremely weak. Everyone else is extremely weak. Maxime Bernier, I'm no longer convinced about him, and I'll tell you why after. But I'm gonna go look at the news. Let's see what's going on, chums. Is the vote happening? It is now 8 o'clock. This new game looks interesting. Yes, Butters, it's the same situation. I'll talk about Ukraine after. We're talking about this right now. As I grind, I'm knee deep in looking for this shit. Yes, Tiro. Parliament can be called any time. It just depends if it's emergency or not. Wait, what did you say, Blonde? I didn't just post it again, man. Yeah, I think I can't pronounce his name, but I think he's fine. Pierre, yeah. Jeb 2022. That's how he wins. Jeb. I'll tell you about that story too after. So the comments trying to get Iron Fisted. What's this about? I read that, dude. What are you talking about? Get Neely to Ottawa. She can yell at them until they submit. Yeah, Putin's doing his thing. All it takes now at this point is China to go after Taiwan. Have everything happen on the same day. All the world-ending events. Okay. Here's the vote. Motion for confirmation of the declaration of emergency. I'll let that ride over there for now, just to... Hold on. Sorry guys, I'm trying to work this out. If something actually happens, I'll bring it up on screen so you guys can see it. But for now, I pulled a stream up from the Government of Canada site, and we're just waiting. We're just waiting. Okay, so guys. Oh, thanks for the hype train, everyone. Oh, the hype train just ended. Rip. Don't you dare start buffering, stream. Jesus. Yeah, so what will likely happen? What will likely happen is Trudeau will survive this, but he will clearly have lost the confidence of the people. The NDP will have signed their own death warrant. And likely in a future election, it will play out that Trudeau gets fucked by like a reasonably popular conservative candidate. Okay, so that's the story for this. Yeah, I don't have the WEF copium that everyone else has. Oh, Pierre Polivier, whatever his name is, yeah. Yeah, butters. Oh, they're coming in. Yeah. I guess we'll just, want to do a little switch over? Hopefully I set this up correctly. Hey look, you're gonna get some politics in your gaming stream. Okay.
Pursuant to Section 58 of the Emergencies Act,
The politics of Lufia.
Confirm the declaration of a public order emergency proclaimed on February 14th, 2022.
DMCA.
The 10-minute period for members voting electronically has started, and the House will now proceed to the vote for members participating in person.
I'm still grinding in the background.
All those in
I'm just
favor of
listening
the
to this
motion
too.
will please rise.
Gabra.
Mr. Algabra.
Ms. Grove.
Ms. Grove.
Mr. McGinty.
Mr. McGinty.
Mr. Scarpalegia.
Scarpalegia.
Ms. Cara.
Ms. Cara.
Monsieur Vandal.
Mr. Vandal.
Monsieur McKinnon Gatineau.
Mr. McKinnon Gatineau.
Monsieur Miller.
Mr. Miller.
Mr. Mendicino.
Mr. Mendicino.
Monsieur Serré.
Mr. Serré.
Mr. Dollywall.
Mr. Dollywall.
Mr. Pardon.
Make me
Monsieur
Prime
Arsenault.
Minister.
Mr. Arsenault.
Monsieur Sanson.
Mr. Sanson.
Do you want it louder, guys, or what?
Mr. Fillmore.
Mr. Gerritsen.
It's my first time figuring this kind of thing out.
Mr. Romanado.
Mr. Lamour.
Mr. Lamoureux.
Ms. Sahota.
Ms. Sahota.
Mr. Virani.
Mr. Varani.
The SFO cam is to do SFO type stuff like this, Butters.
Ananda Sangari.
Ms. Dillon.
Ms. Dillon.
Mr. Essassi.
Mr. Assassi.
Madame Mendez.
Madame Mendez.
Mr. Nagvi.
Mr. Nakvi.
Mr. Sidhu
Slightly
Brampton
louder.
East.
Mr. Sidhu Brampton East.
Mrs. Suds.
Mrs. Suds.
Mr. Fragiscaros.
Mr. Fagascatos.
Mr. Maloney.
Mr. Maloney.
Mr. Shifke.
Mr. Shifke.
Mr. Sorbara.
Mr. Sabara.
Mr. Don.
Mr. Don.
Mr. Lewis Kitchener-Conestoga.
Mr. Lewis Kitchener-Conestoga.
Ms. Taylor-Roy.
Ms. Taylor-Roy.
Yeah, fair enough, Butters. I'll
Ms.
figure something out.
Blaney.
Ms. Blaney.
Monsieur Bulleris.
Mr. Bulleris.
Madame Hughes.
Madam Hughes.
Ms. Matheson.
Ms. Matheson.
Ms. Idlard.
Ms. Idlard.
Ms. Barron.
Ms. Barron.
Ms. Maish Saanich Gulf Islands.
Ms. Mary Sanders Gulf Island.
Yeah, these are all the yeses.
All those opposed to the motion will please rise.
And there's the opposition.
Finlay. Monsieur Paulus.
Mr. Paulus.
Mr. Nater.
Mr. Nader.
Mr. Barlow.
Mr. Barlow.
Mr. Chong.
Mr. Trong.
Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore.
Mr. Brassard.
Mr. Brassard.
Monsieur Berthold.
Mr. Berthold.
Mr. Albus.
Mr. Aldous.
Ms. Danshaw.
Ms. Danshaw.
Mr. Macaulay Edmonton West.
Mr. Macaulay, Edmonton West.
Mr. Schmale.
Mr. Schmale.
Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Baldinelli.
Mr. Baldinelli.
Mr. Lloyd.
Mr. Lloyd.
Mr. Lawrence.
Mr. Lawrence.
Mr. Duncan Stormont Dundas Salgangary.
Mr. Duncan, Stormont Dundas, Southern Gary.
Mr. Kimmich.
Mr. Kimmich.
Mr. Calkins.
Hawkins.
Sure, Butters. I actually used like an official Game Boy
Mr.
Advance thing.
Malillo.
Mr. Melillo.
Mr. Aitchison.
Mr. Aitchison.
Mr.
I just
Law.
edited it.
Mr. Lobb.
Sure.
Mr. Perkins.
Mr. Perkins.
Mrs. Gallant.
Mrs. Gallant.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Caputo.
Mr. Caputo.
Ms. Ferrari.
Ms. Ferrari.
Monsieur Martel.
Mr. Martel.
Monsieur Gourde.
Mr. Gould.
Mr. Steinley.
Mr. Steinley.
Ms. Rude.
Ms. Rude.
Madame Vien.
Madame Vien.
Ms. Lewis, Haldeman Norfolk.
Ms. Lewis. Alderman Norfolk.
Mrs. Block.
Mrs. Block.
Mr. Vierson.
Mr. Vierson.
Mr. Williamson.
Mr. Williamson.
Mr. McGuire.
Hey, just noticed
Mr. McGuire.
that
Mr.
TV
Aboutet.
is this
Mr.
screen.
Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Arnold.
So
Mr.
like
Genève.
it like
Mr. Genève.
zooms
Mr.
in
Deltel.
and cascades
Mr.
over there.
Monsieur Godin.
Mr. Godin.
Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Kitchen.
Mr. Kitchen.
Mrs. Stubbs.
Mrs. Stubbs.
Mr. Shields.
Mr. Shields.
Mr. Waugh.
Mr. Wall.
Mr. Weber.
Mr. Weber.
Mr. Motts.
Mr. Motts.
Monsieur Lou.
Mr. Lou.
Mr. Bragdon.
Mr. Bragdon.
Mr. Dalton.
Mr. Dalton.
Mr. Doddle.
Mr. Dowdle.
Mr. Cram.
Mr. Cram.
Mr. Curek.
Yeah,
Mr.
bro.
Turek.
Mr.
Fucko.
Morrison.
Mr. Morrison.
Mr. Patzer.
Mr. Patzer.
Mr. Soroka.
Mr. Soroka.
Mr. Van Pupta.
It's not gonna be 169. I
Mr.
think the
Mr.
liberals won this one.
Mr. Brock.
Mr. Muse.
Mr. Muse.
Mrs. Roberts.
Mrs. Roberts.
Mr. Barrett.
Mr. Barrett.
Mr. Poiliev.
Mr. Polyev.
I haven't taken that pill, Cyber Ninja.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie. Madame Normandin. Monsieur Simard. Monsieur Bergeron.
Mr. Bergeron.
Madame de Bellefeuille.
Madame de Bellefeuille.
Madame Michaud.
Madame Michaud.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
Monsieur Brunel Giuseppe.
Monsieur Thériault.
Monsieur Thériault.
Monsieur Perron.
Monsieur Perron.
Monsieur Barsalou Duval.
Monsieur Barcelou Duval.
Monsieur Champoux.
Monsieur Champoux.
The House will now wait for the electronic voting period to end before resuming its proceedings.
Five minutes. Of course, they're all voting on party lines, are they not? This is the worst 5-minute break ever? Yeah, pretty much is. So, guys, how you feeling? Yeah, it seems like all the liberals got whipped into place. Getting ready for Pad Me to say her line. Oh, hey, Dom. What are you doing here? Dave's not here today. At what point do you apply for political asylum? Well, here's what happens. If Trudeau were to lose this, it would call an election. But if Trudeau were to actually win this, it just means that his use of emergency powers is considered legitimate. There are still other avenues to challenge it. So, for example, it can be challenged in court, and it is being challenged in court. And there's also the Crown is required to set up a committee to, independently of this voting process, analyze whether or not it was worth it. This is only one of 3 possible hurdles that Trudeau has to overcome. 76 in Canada? I don't know. I don't mind, though. They're usually pretty good people. Yes, this is still a monarchy, ultimately. This country. These are all new Lufia players, apparently. That's what it is. No, the Queen's involved. The Queen is represented by a Governor General, but she still holds an office in Canada. classical music as they destroy the country. Yeah, the Queen is the head of state. Yes, the Crown is the head of state. Represented by the Governor General whenever the Queen is not here. Which she isn't, because usually she's in the UK. But whenever the Queen does come to Canada, which happens sometimes, she performs all the same duties for our country as she performs for the UK. The Queen is mostly a figurehead, but she also acts as a reset button. Basically, if Parliament becomes too dysfunctional, she can unilaterally call an election. But that's the nuclear option in politics. And not something that you'd want to just do for partisan reasons. Yeah, I've heard that, Shogoth. I've seen that fucking article. She's not going to become the God Emperor. For example, there was a time in the 1980s when there was some kind of shit show happening in Australia, and the Governor General there, with the Queen's authority, immediately called an election because they couldn't even pass a budget, and neither government could do it. So the Governor General just said, "You're all fired. None of you have jobs anymore. I'm calling an election." God damn it. Who has... Okay. Who has in stone? Jaren has in stone. This game is still happening, by the way, as literally the fate of the world gets decided right now. We can talk about Ukraine and other topics later if you like. For now, we're going to just talk about this insanity. Turn on your mics, guys. Come on. Don't pull a Dev. He's... Okay. The speaker's talking. You fucking boomers. Dev is a bad influence. Here we go.
I wish to inform the House that the electronic voting period has ended.
Okay.
I will invite members who encounter technical difficulties to identify themselves. If members were not able to vote due to technical difficulties, they may now use the raise hand function, and the chair will recognize them. Ms. Zurowitz.
Parliament over Zoom call, guys.
Mr. Speaker, my app has asked me to confirm that I have voted, and I vote yay.
Your vote has been cast as yes. Madame Kayabaga.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais voter oui pour la motion.
Okay, bon. Mr. Morris.
Madame Kawabanga.
Mr. Speaker, I had issues with the app. I will be voting nay contre.
I think he was one of the turncoats.
Okay. Madame Wagenthal.
Don't worry about it, Brick Muppet.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. I would like to confirm that I voted nay.
Call, against, cont.
Mr. Hoback.
Mr. Speaker, I have to confirm that I voted no.
Mr. Fault.
He confirmed.
Mr. Fault.
My vote was recorded as a nay.
Mr. Fast.
You guys are doing this worse than me.
Mr.
Get a
Speaker,
better
I
tech
vote
guy.
No.
Mr. Fast. Against, contre.
Mr. McLean.
Nays are good for the truckers, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I
think.
just want to make sure you
I'm
know
pretty
that
sure.
I vote no to this motion.
Yeah.
Mr. McLean. Against, contre.
Use a straw poll, noobs.
Monsieur Singh.
I vote for the motion.
Of course you would, you fucking sellout.
Mr. Singh. For.
He was the
Ms.
leader
Thomas.
of the NDP, guys. He's the commie sellout. There goes his party.
Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm that my vote is no.
Mrs. Thomas. Against, contre.
Ms. Goodridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to confirm that my vote is no.
Confirmed.
It is confirmed. Mr. Genius.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to confirm that my vote was cast as a nay.
It is registered. Mr. Redekop.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just too want to confirm that my vote was cast as a negative nay.
Your vote was registered as nay. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stewart. Okay, maybe we'll go back. Ms. Kwan.
Oh shit, my internet went out. I can't vote. Oh no. Can you imagine, like, it hinges on one
Mr.
vote and a
Speaker,
guy
my
loses
voting app
internet?
was not working, and I vote yes.
Ms. Kwan. For.
Ms. Gray.
Mr. Speaker, I vote no.
That is confirmed. That is confirmed. Mr. Tolmie.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to confirm that my vote was a nay.
Jesus Christ, Sugar.
Your vote was registered as nay. Mr. Viss.
Mr. Speaker, I confirm that my vote was nay.
It is confirmed at nay. Mr. Stewart.
There are a lot of nays in the call-ins. You're right.
Can you hear me?
Look at this guy's room.
Can you hear me now?
Anyway, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we will compile a vote.
What a shit show.
Yeas pour 185. 185.
Yeah, they have enough.
Nays contre 151. 151.
151, exactly like I thought it would.
Carried.
Yeah.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition, on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to file with you pursuant to Section 59 of the Emergencies Act a motion to revoke the Prime Minister's emergency declaration that was proclaimed last week.
Trudeau won. And he won by the math that I predicted at the start of this stream.
The motion is signed by more than 20 members of the Conservative Party.
The Government House Leader.
But now she's putting in a motion to stop the Emergencies Act,
Mr.
even
Speaker,
though it is
as
legitimate
you're
now.
aware, there was a House order. The House would adjourn after the vote, Mr. Speaker.
We were waiting for 2 points of order this time. I'll let her finish, and then we'll finish up
Consider the
tonight.
matter at the next sitting week. I say this to all Canadians, that Conservatives will continue to use every tool at our disposal to end the Prime Minister's abuse.
The Honourable.
Hold on, Nixon. I'll talk about it after.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. You can't even. This is not a point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Look how Trudeau's not even here.
Are we done? The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would just like to take the time to thank the staff who stayed over the course of the weekend, the clerks, the House administration. It has been a long hour. This has been a historic debate, but I think we should thank all the people who serve this place for their incredible service. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It being 8:23 p.m. pursuant to the order made Thursday, February 17th, 2022, the House stands adjourned
180
until
something
Monday,
for
February 28th,
yes.
2022 at 11 a.m. pursuant to Standing Order 28.2 and 24.1.
And that's that. So that went about the way that I thought it was going to go. They were going to be able to get 151 out of the necessary 169, and that was going to be the end of it. Now, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily over, okay? Here, let me just... Okay. There we go. That doesn't seem that it's necessarily... Now, the conversation isn't over, but that just means that one avenue of opposing this has been closed now. I kept grinding this whole time. I don't know if you guys noticed. Didn't get anywhere, though. Yeah. Even though there was a bunch of liberals who said privately they didn't like how this was going, and there was at least 2 liberals who publicly came out and denounced Trudeau, none of them voted against him. None of them had the spine to do it. None of them had the spine to do it. JF Mashode, thanks for the sub. First in dystopian Canada. Discipline for their bankroll. Okay. So, let's describe what actually happened, okay? So, let's describe what actually happened. When Trudeau triggered the Emergencies Act to open up new avenues to go after the trucker protest, a few things were automatically put into motion. One of them is that immediately, in the next possible parliamentary opportunity, there would be a debate opened up in Parliament regarding whether or not use of the Act is legitimate. Now, that debate was put off until today. And the reason it was put off until today is because the police action that was happening on Friday to clear the protesters out would have impeded people's ability to actually get to Parliament. They said it was unsafe. That seems to be, honestly, a bullshit excuse because it's supposed to happen immediately. But they just closed Parliament so that they could clear all the protesters out over the weekend using the powers of the Act. And then when they come back on Monday, if Trudeau loses, it doesn't really matter that much because they've already cleared them out, right? So that was one. That was one avenue. And that was honestly an avenue that was always going to not really bear fruit because Trudeau does control. It's a minority government, but he had the votes. He had the votes in the House, okay? Secondly, the second thing is that afterward, if the act is considered to be, its use considered to be legitimate, what could then be put forward is a motion to end the powers of the act, which is what the Conservative leader, that woman there, she's an interim leader, she's not the main leader. She's the interim leader while they do their Conservative leadership election. They can put forward a motion to end the use of the powers of the Emergency Act. And that was what they did there at the end. That'll probably be the next thing that happens. However, also under the Act is that automatically a committee must be formed independent of the House of Commons. So not voted on the way that this is. But a committee must be formed by the Crown to look into appropriate use of the powers. So that can still fuck Trudeau down the line. And additionally, the provincial governments have have open to them the ability to take the federal government to court over the use of this act, which the Alberta government has already done. So there are other things, and there are still other things at play. There are still other motions happening. It's not done yet. For example, there's a bunch of people, like, okay, a big chunk of the right in the past year or so has gone on this anti-democracy tirade. That was one of the things that split Scrump and I up, ideologically anyway, not personally. That was a divide between us. And there's people out there who are actually, even Scrump said this recently, that Canada has now suspended the right to vote and has made all protesting illegal. And now Trudeau can just pass laws at a whim with no parliamentary oversight. And it's like, that's not what happened. That is not what happened, guys. It's not what happened. It's fucking stupidity. What just happened was a vote. It's a vote that we lost, but it was still a vote. It's so dumb. But anyway, the point is, Justin may want to seek a means to prevent new elections. He can't do that, though. Especially as a minority government, he can't do that. Yeah. Now the vote's taken to the Senate, yeah. Imagine thinking democracy works after 2020. No. You know what? At this point, I've looked into the American situation enough, and I genuinely believe that Trump lost. Not because Biden's any good, but because the coronavirus, basically whoever held power during the coronavirus was going to lose, whether it was Trump or somebody else. That's all. If the coronavirus didn't happen, Trump would have won 2020. But he legitimately lost. Trump actually lost. And people out there who are talking about, oh, the collusion, oh, the ballots coming in the middle of the night. Copium. Fucking copium. Every single instance was looked into and was found to be not true. Fucking copium. It is true. Arizona was found to be not true, man. People keep saying they're doing criminal dives, Show me it then. Show me it. Jesus Christ, can you fucking run away from the fight? Fuck you. Okay. Yeah, you're all saying wrong. Show me. Show me. Show me. Show me the lawsuits. Show me the evidence. Hasn't come out yet. Hasn't happened. Not gonna happen. Listen, if you're making this claim that there was actually collusion and actually problems and actually hidden votes or whatever the fuck it was, show me. I've watched Razor Fist, and Razor Fist is fucking coping. He's coping. Biden's voter fraud is the Russiagate for Republicans. Yes, it is. It fucking is at this point. Ridiculous. They were dismissed out of hand and not addressed. No. Man, if you get like Trump-appointed judges, Trump-appointed like other people who are elected who are pro-Trump, and they're all looking at this and they're like, there's fucking nothing here. Nothing there. It is not the case that literally everything is stacked against you. Maybe it's the case that you're just not that fucking popular. I say the same thing to the socialists. Socialists are like, the working class actually loves us, and they just don't know. They need class consciousness. It's like, maybe you just suck. Maybe you just fucking suck. Now, if it is the case that you're actually that popular, then you should be able to overwhelmingly win 2022, right? And 2024, right? Hey there, Herpes Derpus, what's up? Hatsworth, those were investigated, and that's not what happened. No. Those were legitimate votes in the end, it turned out. Butters, we can actually talk about that. Butters made the first good point out of the chat so far. Okay, so regarding the whole voting rule changes to the election things, the reason that they weren't allowed to be legally challenged is because the Republicans were actually okay with them, and they only started objecting after they started losing. And the judge was like, well, you had like a year to bring this forward, or 6 months to bring this forward. Why didn't you bring this forward? And they're just like, because we're losing now? Dr. Diddler, come on, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But no, it seems to me that Trump legitimately lost, and that people are angry about it. Fine. And you know what, old dirty Luke? Exactly. Like here. Let me put it this way. If it is the case that there was fraud, then that should honestly galvanize everyone who is right-leaning into voting overwhelmingly for your candidates in the next election, such that it becomes impossible to hide it. You can't simply print, a few thousand ballots, win by huge margins. You'll have to link me direct evidence of that then. Confused one. I'm willing to look at it, but everything I've seen has turned out to be smoke. Send me direct evidence of that too, Titanium. As always. Let's get 22. They had to have the tort bring it earlier. Since they had tort, it was ruled too late. Yeah, that can suck too, yeah. Why wouldn't they just defraud even harder? Okay, listen. If you actually have that opinion, all right? If you actually have the opinion that no voting is legitimate anymore, it's all just rigged. Doesn't matter if you win by 90% of the vote. It's all just going to be tossed aside. Then why aren't you getting your guns and fighting the government? Because now you have cause to. Or is it just because you're LARPers? All right, peace. I was here for the Canada politics. Yeah, Dom? I actually did want to keep talking about the Canada politics. I might as well just go back to it. But thanks for being here, Dom, for the few minutes you were around. X-Lax brownies. Okay, so, regarding the Canadian vote. And, yes, obviously the Canadian system still functions. It's just that we're rather politically divided right now. That's why things are as tough as they are. Give me a fucking helmet. Yep, DM me everything you have then. Send it all over. DM me everything you have instead of coping in the chat. Or DM it to mods who can DM it to me. Just die. Can I DM you my nudes? There we go, second Might helmet. Nice. We actually did it. Guys, we fucking did it, dude. All the Might helmets. Okay, Might shield. Do we still only have one Might shield? Hold on, that can't be right. Oh, because we got a Might bow. Right, okay. How many, eggs do I have? I have 6 dragon eggs. So I'm actually almost done with the game now. Give me 100 terabytes of porn. Let's see. DeSantis. Yeah, DeSantis is actually probably the future of the Republican Party. Okay. Here, I'm going to save it. Because we actually managed to get it done. Oh. So. Might sword, armor, helmet. I need one more might shield, and I have 100% save file. Because there's a might shield there. Might bow, might helmet. The mock stuff. This is actually like a pretty good setup, all things considered. Lufia can't equip any of like the rare armor. Okay. So, to go back to Canada politics, okay? If you guys have more evidence that I haven't seen, apparently, you can send it to me, but I guarantee you, 99% chance I'll look at it and it'll turn out to be nothing. So, my advice to you, Americucks, is win the next election. So, regarding the Canada situation, this was expected, an expected loss. They were all pretty much always going to ratify Trudeau's use of emergency powers because they are spineless. Jagmeet Singh is a spineless coward. He knows that his constituents don't want this, and he did it anyway. The NDP knows that the working class they claim to fight for, that who vote for them, didn't want this. They did it anyway. And not just the NDP, the Liberals who spoke out against Trudeau for doing this, they also were not. They didn't have a spine to actually stand up to it either. None of them stuck to their actual principles. Damn, Dev, it'd be nice if you had a town hall to speak to your Discord. Listen, Titanium, if I were to get like 10 people into a call with me, they'd all just yell at me. Be like, you're wrong, you're wrong. And it's like, 99% chance I'll look at it and dismiss it because liberal. See, bad for Monkey 4. If you think that I will look into something and dismiss it because I'm a liberal, rather than dismissing it because I have some kind of problem with the evidence, that seems to be a problem with you, not with me. It's like, God, it's... Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to leftists who can't understand that sometimes people just fucking disagree with them and have different views of things. It feels like that sometimes when I talk to rightoids. It feels like talking to leftoids. Talk about abortion? I don't like it. But I don't want it illegal. Anyway, I do want to talk about like Maxime Bernier, but should we keep going? Are you fucking kidding me, Butters? Because Avalon, like, that's not gonna happen. I feel pretty strongly about my abortion beliefs. Safe, legal, and rare seems correct. Got to stretch? Thank you. Media says the majority of Canadians support the emergency measures. Not true. Drew Cox, it's... Things are very... No, you can't, Avalon. I know you can't. Definitely not. Not on this topic, anyway. Media says the majority of Canadians support the emergency measures for $5. Thank you for the donation. But here's the thing. The majority of Canadians supported, via polls, the removal of the protesters. Yes. But also, the majority of Canadians agree with the protesters' goals of... there's a hydrate as well. Agree with the protesters... But on the same poll, the same polling company, the majority of Canadians want the lockdowns gone, which is what the protesters wanted. So Canadians overwhelmingly agree with the protesters, but they did not want to protest themselves, because Canada is full of fucking hippie peaceniks. Safe, legal, and rare is a myth that died a long time ago. I don't know about that. Everyone in my friend group still believes in it, and most girls that I know, if they got pregnant, they would probably get an abortion. But they wouldn't use it as a main form of birth control because they would all find that disgusting. That seems to be like a normal position. My DMs are still locked, you fat fuck. Well, then either add me as a friend or send them to a mod. I'm not sure I can trust your political research vids if you miss such an important video and other info. If you're lazy about that, you might... You know, it's not laziness. Sometimes things just slip by, which is why I always say, send me everything you have and I'll look at it. But at this point, I am reasonably convinced... Yes, I do, Butters. I actually checked them all recently. I am reasonably convinced at this point that 2020 is just a bunch of Trumpsters who are huffing copium. I'm not being rude. Are you fucking kidding me? This is the fucking internet. I have an entire chat room, an entire Discord, an entire comment section of rude people. I will be rude back. And it's okay, all right? Anyway, I'm gonna take a short break. 82 hate watchers right now. Just disagree with you. Based. All right. Anyway, no. Here. Jesus Christ, God, Jesus. I am going to the washroom. Unless you want me just to pee on the chat. I'll be back in a few minutes, okay? Now, where's the button there? BRB. Remember, I'm always right.